This episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast is brought to you by Bluehost. Try the #1 recommended web hosting provider. With plans starting at just $3.95 a month, you'll get a free domain, free site builder, easy one-click WordPress installs, and 24/7 support. But what's just as impressive as what you get is what you don't get, as there's no contracts, no hidden fees, and no gimmicks. Go check them out at lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/Bluehost. You're listening to the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast, the weekly show sharing proven methods and systems in marketing, equipment, and customer service, educational and motivational, to help make your lawn care business an overwhelming success. Now here's your host, Julio Tomei. Welcome, Lawn Care Nation, to another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. I'm your host, Julio Tomei, and this is episode number 84, entitled Interview with Alex Nickens from Nickens Lawn and Landscape. Well, hello, everybody, and thanks again for joining me this week on another episode of the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast. Really appreciate you guys taking the time out again to join me this week for another great interview episode. I have to say that I'm having a great time doing these interviews. I'm actually starting to prefer doing them over sitting in the room by myself and talking like I did for the first 80 episodes. But I'll continue these interviews for as long as I possibly can, as long as I can find willing participants. And on that note, we have Alex Nickens this week from Nickens Lawn and Landscape. So we'll get into the interview as always in the same format. I'll play the podcast announcements first and then go straight into the interview uninterrupted. All right, so stay tuned. Hey guys, if you have any questions or comments about the show, I'd love to hear from you. You can head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/contact. And while you're there, why not join my mailing list and get access to a free PDF document of a landscape maintenance contract you can feel free to copy and use in your own business. For you Instagram users out there, be sure to follow me at Lawn Care Business Success. And if you haven't checked out my videos yet, well, what are you waiting for? Be sure to subscribe to the Lawn Care Business Success YouTube channel. Now, I know you guys love listening to audio while you work as much as I do, so I've partnered up with Audible to offer you guys a free 30-day trial and one free audiobook of your choice. There's no long-term commitments, and you can cancel anytime. And get this, even if you cancel during the trial period, you get to keep your free audiobook. It's a great way to try the service and see if Audible is right for you. So why not give it a try? Head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/Audible. Now back to the show. So I'd like to welcome Alex Nickens from Nickens Lawn and Landscape. Hello, Alex. How you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me, Julio.
Yeah, no problem. I really appreciate you taking your time out of probably, it looks like from your Instagram account, looks like you've had a very busy winter season. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to come and talk to my listeners.
Oh, that's no problem. Glad to take the time out. Yeah, we've been busy, but we've always got time.
Awesome. So why don't you start off and tell us a bit about yourself and your business?
So as you guys know, my name's Alex Nickens. We own Nickens Lawn and Landscape, and we're out of Belleville, Illinois. We've been operating since 2013. So we've been in 4 years now. This will be the 5th year. 2017 will be our 5th year, but it's all started way before that. I mean, I've been pushing my lawnmower down the street trying to cut lawns since I was 10 years old. So I've always been hungry, so to say. I've always, not necessarily mowing lawns, but I've always wanted more and dreamed for more. And I played sports growing up. I always played hockey, and hockey taught me a lot of life lessons, just working hard to get what you want. And, some people have it, some people don't, but if you don't work hard and go for it, you never know.
Yeah.
So that definitely taught me a big lesson. But, going in high school, I played hockey and was very serious in hockey. And I worked, I had my first job whenever I was 14. I rode my bike to work. But after that, I always had jobs through high school and nothing in the lawn care industry or the green industry at all. I worked at a Pizza Hut. And then I got a job at a horse farm, and I worked there, and that was kind of my first laborious, so to say, job. I cleaned out horse stalls, so you can imagine how fun that was.
Sounds like a shitty job.
Yeah, exactly. That describes it pretty much perfectly. So, but a pitchfork and a wheelbarrow, there I was.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, my first lean into the labor side of things. But so I did that for a couple of years, and then my first year out of high school, I graduated high school in 2010. But my first year out of high school, I was still playing select hockey, and I was still, going to go for a scholarship, and that was still my goal.
Okay.
So I played hockey that year, ended up having a concussion that year, and that was my second one in 2 years. So I missed about half the season. And that obviously wasn't good for any kind of scouting reports or anything like that. So that kind of shut down some hopes, and I had some connections through previous coaches and just people that I had met, throughout high school and whatnot. So I still had a couple of tryout invitations and things like that. And I was, after that season ended where I had my concussion, and I had the tryout invitations for that summer. So in the meantime, I got my first landscaping job. My older brother knew a guy that was pretty close by. It was about a 30-minute drive, but he owned a pretty big landscape company. He had went to college and got a horticulture degree, and, ran a about $1 million landscape company with a few guys. Wow. But it was no mowing, anything like that, really no maintenance. It was mostly just very extravagant installs. Yeah, we were doing 30-foot retaining walls and, very, very big stuff. Lots of excavators and bobcats and dump trucks and all that good stuff. But anyway, so that was my first job in the green industry, and I really enjoyed that, and he really liked what I was doing, and it was great. And I'd been there about 3 months, and I was on my way to work one morning, and it was, we had to be there at 6. It was a 30-minute drive, so it was about 5:15 in the morning, still dark, and it was foggy, and I rear-ended a semi going about 65 miles an hour and broke my femur.
Oh.
So that definitely put a hold on everything. That obviously I wasn't working at the landscape job anymore. I lost my truck, and all the tryout invitations that I had for that summer were pretty much shot. So I basically lost, I'd spent my whole life training and working to be a hockey player, and that was still my goal. And those tryout invitations were basically all I had left, because you can only play for so long as a junior player,
Okay, yeah.
So my window was narrowing, so to say, and that was about the last shot I had. And with a broken leg, obviously I couldn't try out, so that all went out the window. So I was laid up with a broken femur. You can't move hardly for months. So I'm limping around and doing a lot of laying around, and started thinking, what do I want to do with my life? Hockey was my life, and now that's come short. I can still go play somewhere, but it's not going to be what I wanted. So in the time I was laid up, I decided I was going to go to college and pay and just walk onto a team. So that's what I did, and it was a local college, and knowing that it wasn't going to go anywhere past college, I wasn't too concerned. I just wanted to play. So that's what I did, and didn't check any other schools out or anything. I just went to the local college and wanted to live at home. And that's when I kind of started thinking, maybe I can do some kind of landscaping on my own while I'm in college versus, working somewhere for $8 an hour.
Yes.
Seeing the money that was in it, hearing this guy's numbers, just overhearing while I was working for him, he'll throw out a number like 40,000, 50,000, and we're at the house for 4 days. I'm just, I'm over here going, what the, I'm making, he's paying me $13 an hour, and I think I'm rich, So that's what it was. And then I, going to school, I was taking classes and I was playing hockey, but I still had a lot of free time, as most college students do. So I started, same thing that you told me your story. I started passing out a few flyers here and there, nothing real serious at first. And next thing you know, I started getting a few calls here and there, and friends' parents would call me, and grandparents, and, family friends and things like that. And that's what really got me off the ground, was there was a need for it around here. Around here, it's a lot of fly by night, so to say, companies with not nice equipment and, you know, nothing nice about them. The people aren't personable, you know, there was a need for it around here. So once I started passing out flyers and stuff, you know, I mean, not overnight, but, you know, over a year, I started, you know, gaining quite a few customers and was still going to college and doing that thing. So that's what I did for about 3 years, was play hockey, went to school as a full-time student, and was starting my landscape company. And my degree was in business, with a specialty in entrepreneurship. That was going to be my degree. Okay. And, you know, I was 3 years in, and I was taking these classes that are supposed to be, you know, the higher level classes. And I'm thinking to myself, I want to learn something that's going to help my business. And, you know, just waiting for that day, basically, you know, going through the motions, just waiting for something that's going to benefit me, you know, and that day never came. And finally, it had been 3 complete years, and I had, between hockey and the business and everything, I was on pace for 5 years. So I had 2 years left, and I said, screw it, I'm done. And I quit playing hockey, and I quit going to school. And a lot of people kind of looked down on that, but, you know, I had a girlfriend at the time, and I still have the same girlfriend, but she was on board because she knew, you know, she had watched me and she knew what I wanted, and she knows my work ethic. You know, she knew I wasn't just going to, you know, quit and roll over. You know, that wasn't my plan. I wanted to grow, and I wasn't growing. Yes. My brothers saw the same thing. My mom saw the same thing. So everyone around me was on board, but, you know, a lot of my teammates and a lot of the people, you know, that didn't see the whole picture, you know, didn't quite see what was going on and agree with it. But so that's what I did, though. But I did that, and a lot of people were against it, but I didn't worry about those people. I just focused on myself, and that was 2013 was the year that I went full in. Okay. And since then, I mean, it's been incredible. I mean, what's happened, if someone would have told me I would be where I'm at now, then I wouldn't believe them. Yeah. You know, but it's all through hard work and lessons that I've learned, not necessarily in business, but just in life. You know, I'm only 24 years old, and I've learned a lot of things other ways, and translated it into business. Awesome. And it's worked out. So
awesome. Your story reminds me a lot of that. When I joined that franchise, I was reading sort of the biography on the founder of the company, and he had a very similar story where he was mowing lawns and doing that on the side while he was going to college and university. And by the time 5 or 6 years in, when he finished his university and graduated and got his diploma, he found that he was making more money in the landscaping than he would make at the top of his profession that he went to school for, and decided to just go full in on the landscaping instead. So that's funny that you were saying that. Yeah.
Yep. And that's kind of, I mean, I was, like I said, I was juggling. I was playing a full-time sport that was involved. I was going to school full-time, and I was running a business, a very small business at that time. But the money I was making as a very small business, juggling all that, I was thinking in my head, you know, if I would focus on this and put all my efforts into this and quit juggling, I can make something of this. And that's, you know, I finally made the leap. It took me a long time to do it, but I'm very happy that I did it. I have no regrets, that's for sure.
Awesome. So I think you answered part of this, but so what first attracted you to the lawn care? Was it just because of doing it early on when you were 10 years old? You said you started doing some lawns and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had always mowed, you know, my own lawn at my house, a small in-town yard, and always tried to mow neighbors' yards and whatever for $10 here and there. But I was a big skateboarder when I was young, so I was always trying to build up money to buy new skateboards and things like that, accessories for my skateboards. But that was my goal, and I was always, you know, mowing lawns was the way to get money when you were little. You know? Especially around here, there was a lot of elderly people where I'm at, and, you know, I would just push the mower down the street and wait until I saw a lawn that the grass was long, and I'd go knock on the door and say, "Hey, do you want me to cut your grass? I can see that needs to be cut." And I wasn't trying to get reoccurring customers necessarily. I was just trying to make $10 there and move on, go find the next one that needed to be done.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. But then really whenever I got my first landscape job, that was, like I said, I worked at the horse farm, and I really liked being outside. I didn't like, the previous jobs I had, I was inside, and I really didn't like that. I've always been an outside kind of guy. So I enjoyed being outside, and, I was just searching for something outside, and landscape just happened to happen.
Okay, cool. So, and I noticed, sorry to interrupt there. I noticed through your Instagram and stuff like that you've got your brother working for you, and as well as your girlfriend working for you.
Yeah.
So how does that work out with having your family and your girlfriend and all that all together?
So my girlfriend doesn't really work for me. She helps time to time, and there's a couple properties where she's the one that actually got me that property, and every once in a while she'll go out there with me and just kind of look over things. So she doesn't really work with me. That was just kind of a fun picture. But my brother, he's pretty much, been there since day one, not necessarily an employee, but he's always helped me, and we've done, just through research and, going to look at different things and checking out, just trying to learn, basically, not necessarily working, but he's been there with me since day one, trying to learn just as much as I was trying to learn. And really up until this year, I had never had a need for a full-time employee. He's helped me from time to time on larger jobs. But for the most part, I've been by myself until now. But 2017, the end of 2016, or really all of 2016, I was cutting 53 yards in 3 days.
Wow.
I was cutting 36 hours in 3 days, and then I was doing landscape for 2 or 3 more days. So it got to the point where I was just, I was running my body dry. I had nothing left really at the end of the year. I was so ready for a break, and I've always, I enjoy the winter, but I've never been ready like I was ready this year. And,
you start looking forward to it. Yeah.
And my brother was actually working a very good job. He was working for Boeing, and he, I told him what was going on basically, and I said, I want to make you the first offer. You've been there since day one. You've helped me with a lot of stuff, and, you deserve it if anybody's going to grow with me, and he knows the potential for growth, obviously, seeing the way that things have built. But I said, if somebody's going to grow with me, I want it to be you. And he thought about it for a little while, and he decided he wanted to come along. So we're just getting started in it together, and it's going to be interesting, but that's where we're at as of now.
Awesome. So you guys have obviously had a really good relationship growing up.
Yeah, we've always been extremely, extremely close, playing sports together. And I said I was a skateboarder. He skateboarded as well, and he's always played hockey as well. And we lost our dad in 2008, and really.
Oh, sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and really since then, we've kind of been, we do pretty much everything together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Family is awesome.
Family's number one. I'm going to say that over, everyone wants to run the best business possible, but everyone gets caught up, and I've been caught up myself, but don't let your business overtake your family. If you're working that much, you need to hire somebody else. You need to spend time with your families.
Yes. Very, very good lesson. Yeah.
Much needed.
No, it's one of my number one motivation for being self-employed is my family, and having the freedom to enjoy time with them and spend time with them and do that, and not let, work is great and building your business is great, but you have limited time on this earth. I always say the day that you're born is also the first day to the countdown of your death. It seems kind of gloomy, but it's all there, and
very upfront and realistic.
Yeah, and do as much as you can. Don't take any moment for granted. So getting into the business side of things, what type of work do you prefer? Do you like doing the commercial stuff, or do you do residential, and why?
We prefer residential, and the reason being, residential customers are extremely loyal.
Yeah.
I have, in my time, in the 4 serious years that I've been doing this, I've had one customer put their lawn out for bid. And that is how I got that customer the year before, is they weren't happy with the price of the previous guy, which after her telling me I agreed was too high. So I did it for a little bit cheaper, and I was still making the money I needed to make on it.
Yeah.
And she just complained and complained and complained and complained. It was the worst customer that I've ever had, other than the couple that I've had that are never paid, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
But anyway, I prefer residential because they don't put it out for bid. If it wasn't for snow removal and salting, I probably wouldn't do any commercial at all. It would probably be strictly residential. But in the wintertime, picking up some parking lots and stuff that don't have any grass that I don't mow in the summer, but I take care of them in the winter, that kind of, whenever it snows, it's nice to get that money. So those commercials are nice for certain things, and it all depends really what you're geared towards, but we're geared mostly towards mowing and maintenance, and the residentials are very loyal and it's very consistent.
Yes. I'm completely the same. I love doing residential only. I did, when I started out, a bit of commercial and quickly found that what you're saying, that there's no loyalty in it. I remember doing this huge trucking complex and taking over from some other company. And, the guy was, the guy who was in charge of hiring was like, wow, you're doing a great job. The owners, says it's great. And, I'd be there at 8 a.m. and at 4:30, 5 o'clock, I'd still, as he's leaving to go home, he's like, you're still here? And I said, yeah, I just want to get this all done. And, he was like, well, it looks great. The owner keeps, saying how nice it looks. And I started to see how much time I was spending there and going, okay, the next year I'm going to have to up the bid a little bit because I'm spending a lot more time than I had originally considered. So by the end of the season, I told him, I'm going to have to raise the price because of this and this. And it dropped me like a hot potato. Yep. And it was like, really? You've just been telling me how much better I've been doing than the other guy, that it's never looked so good. But because of a, $200 a month raise, you're dropping me for that. And I'm doing 4 visits. So, basically, not that big of an increase. But I just found no loyalty in that. So I started going residential and found that, building those relationships with residential clients, they're with you. It doesn't matter if somebody else is knocking on the door. I have one client who actually told me that they had, I don't know if you guys have this where you're from, but a few years ago started this trend of companies coming around in the spring just aerating lawns, and they hire a whole bunch of students and they're just out like completely blanketing neighborhoods on foot, walking with aerators, and they have this like one of those like 15 passenger vans full of these kids, a flatbed trailer with like 20 aerators on it, and they drop off kids on the corners of neighborhoods, and the kids just go all day long pushing aerators, knocking on doors, door to door, and undercutting the prices on aerating. And my loyal customers, I had one telling me that, the guy knocked at the door and, said, can we aerate your lawn? He's like, no, I got a guy that does it. And he's like, well, we'll do it for this much. And he's like, no, I told you I've got a guy that does it. And then the guy cut the price down again. Okay, we'll do it for this much. He's like, no, you don't get it. I've got my guy. He'll come and do it. And he's like, well, what if we pay you to do it? Like, we'll pay you to do your lawn just so we can put a sign on it. And he's like, no. I've got a guy that does it, right? It's like your customers will be so loyal in protecting you because of the relationship you build with them. And, once I started seeing that, I was like, residential is the way for me, at least. I know a lot of guys prefer the commercial stuff, but for me, I like the residential.
Yeah, I'm with you on the residential stuff for sure, and that is a horrible story. Not for you. That's a good customer, but I hope those college kids don't come walking around here.
No, it's crazy. It's and the worst part now is that there's copycat companies doing it. They've seen the success of these guys just blanketing. So now there's like 2 or 3. So in the spring, you'll get sometimes 2 a day coming to your door, knocking, it's crazy. It's
That's
just
awful.
It's insane. And they've totally, on an average aeration that might be $75, they're doing lawns for like $25. And it's like, are you kidding me? You're like killing the whole, what was a good, what was a good thing. But luckily, yeah, but luckily, like I say, my customers at least will stick to it, and they still pay me the $75 to do my lawn. Definitely. Or to do their lawns and stuff because of that loyalty.
Yep, and we don't have too many people walking around here, but there are companies that, there's a lot of door hangers, a lot of direct mailers and things like that. And there's companies that kind of try to blanket with mowing, and they have success, but the people that I had established, I've lost a handful of customers in my 4 years, and unfortunately a lot of it has been to death. And things like that, or people moving, but very rarely do I lose anyone that is going to continue to pay for lawn service. That's hardly happened at all. So, my customers are definitely loyal, but I see that, even with other people that I know that, I've known my whole lives, and they get their lawns cut, and I say, would you like a bid? And they're like, no, we're okay. We've had the same guy for, 10 years or whatever. So even customers that aren't mine, I would try to get them because I know the people, obviously, and I know they pay for lawn service, and they're like, nothing against you or anything. If we ever switch, we'll call you, but we don't plan on switching.
Yeah. So the loyalty is just awesome and it's all about building those relationships.
It is
with the people.
Yeah, and I've also had people call me that will say, we were with this guy, he didn't show up, or he, promised this and didn't deliver. So you have to do what you're supposed to do, but as long as you take care of them, they're going to take care of you. Yes.
So in what ways do you market your business, and maybe share your number one marketing tip?
My number one marketing tip is let people know what you do. If no one knows what you do, they can't know to hire you, especially, and that goes mostly for people, family, friends, but I try not to pay really any money for marketing. I did the first couple of years, I did the phone book, and I found quickly that was dead. I paid a lot of money for no customers. So I had a big ad and all this stuff, and got nothing from it. So if you're in the phone book, or if you have done, or if you're thinking about doing the phone book, I would strongly suggest pulling and putting your funds elsewhere. And if you're having good success for it, I would like to know how. Yeah. But internet is definitely the way to go as far as marketing. But I do Facebook. I do Instagram, obviously. A lot of people know me on Instagram. I have a Facebook as well. Yep. I have YouTube, but my YouTube is not as much geared towards getting business necessarily. But the main thing I do is I try to post things on my Facebook. I have a Facebook business page as well, and I post on there, and I just try to reach, different people. But I also I only service a very small area. So I try to get people within, my town basically to see my stuff. And that way, they always say it's not the first time they see it, it's the 6th or the 7th. Yes. So I try to keep it, I don't overwhelm people, but I want them to know that I'm not going anywhere, that I'm constantly doing work, and I try to post pictures of different kinds of work. I don't post a picture of grass every single day. I'll post one picture of grass, and the next day if we do a little mulch job, I'll post that, or leaves, or whatever. Just try to kind of show them everything you do. Don't post the same thing 100 times, or whenever they think of you, they're only going to think of the grass. Yes, you got to make sure if you do multiple services, try to post. Try to keep things even and post different things. Don't keep posting the same thing. But really, back to the question, as far as marketing goes, I don't necessarily pay money to market. I try to kind of push it around, and have friends and family share my posts and things like that, and just reach people that way, rather than paying money to reach people. Yeah. We sound very, very similar in that respect as well. I haven't paid too much as far as marketing goes as well. I did a small newspaper ad when I first went on my own, when I left the franchise. And in a previous business, I tried the Yellow Pages ads and was paying like $500 a month for a year and got 0 calls from it. So I relate on that aspect as well. And then when I left my franchise and went on my own,
I did exactly what you were saying in that concentrating on a specific area instead. In fact, I named my new business after the neighborhood that I was working in, and I think that's why it grew so fast in relation to the franchise, where I was having to run around all over the city with a way bigger geographical area by concentrating in that smaller area, naming the company after it, and just that visibility instead of doing one job on one side of town with my trailer visible there, and then I'm not showing up for a whole week in that area, where now every day my trailer is visible in this neighborhood. It's constantly driving on the same roads back and forth, and just the visibility there. I haven't had to spend anything now on any sort of marketing as well. So I can be a testament to what you're saying as far as that sort of way, by concentrating in a smaller area and just being very visible. Like you said, they might not call on the first time they see you, but after repeated, seeing you all the time and all that sort of stuff, it just sticks in their head who they, the first person that they call when they do need something.
Yeah, exactly. And you pushed me to another point. I said I haven't spent any money on marketing, and I lied. I bought an enclosed trailer, and I put a very, very large logo and a very, very large telephone number, and I didn't dress it all up and put stuff everywhere and, make it overwhelming for someone driving by. There's one thing to look at and there's one thing to read. You're not going to miss it when I drive by. And it's a large 8.5 by 16 with I think it's 7.5 billboard. Tall. It's a rolling billboard, and it is red. And my business isn't necessarily red, but I did it on purpose. It's a target. You're not going to miss me when I drive by. Yep. And I have had more compliments on that trailer in the 3 months that I used it than I did on my setup the entire 3.5 years prior to that. Yeah. So, I had people before say, "Oh, your trailer's organized," but now, they don't even see the inside. And, some people do from the back, but the majority of people see me pull up and they're like, "Wow, that is a nice, shiny, big, that trailer looks awesome. We can tell it's brand new. It looks so, professional." And you just had people come out of their houses just to tell me that my trailer looks nice. And that speaks volumes. Those people, not that they're lazy, but they don't even mow their own grass, and they're coming outside to say that my trailer looks good. So they obviously wanted to compliment me. It obviously caught their attention, and they thought it was worth sharing. Yeah. No, it's totally true. That whole professional image, and amazingly what picking good colors and contrast. I see so many times, like, having your company name on a vehicle for whatever business it is so commonplace now. And there's times where I can be, stopped at a red light behind somebody who's got something on their window or something, and I can't even read it. And it's like, I'm right behind you. I can't even read what the heck, because of your colors. You may be having, silver lettering on a white vehicle or something like that. There's no contrast there. And it's crazy. And with my trailer, I wouldn't say a block away. Well, a block away, you'd be able to see it, the colors at least. But definitely in an intersection, driving by, there's no doubt you can see, just like yours, you can see how clear it is. The name is right there. It's just amazing with the color. Taking your time and thinking about the contrast of your colors and standing out from everybody else. Having a red trailer, like I've just got my trailer was originally green, but it's black with sort of the Monster Energy drink colors, the green, black trailer with green and white letters. But yours actually goes, I think, a step above, because having that red in a sea of black trailers, because everybody's got a black trailer. It's like the standard color that comes with trailers, whether they're flatbed trailers or, any other trailer. But having that red just stand out is fantastic. I think that's going to prove to be really a great marketing tool for you in the future. Yeah, and that's exactly, it was time for a new trailer. I bought my previous enclosed trailer brand new as well, but that one had just been used a lot. I mean, it was used as our main trailer. We would haul rock on it, mulch on it, mowers on it. You know, we would haul a Toro Dingo on it. I mean, we were hauling everything we had was going on this trailer. So that trailer got wore out. It was time for a new one, and we were debating. You know, it took a while to decide what we wanted to do because the price difference is so much different. It's more than double, and you know, we were deciding, and that's kind of what it came down to was it's gonna be, you know, it's whatever way you want to look at it, it's going to translate to jobs. It's going to translate to work, not necessarily, you know, right away, but, you know, like we said, it's not the first time they see you, it's the sixth and the seventh, you know, and that's, you know, we're trying to focus more on one area. You know, we have in the past driven all over the place, like you're saying, for your franchise. But we've toned it down. You know, we started to see, okay, it's not worth going to this place. You know, we'll find someone in that area and we'll pass their name along and we'll just, you know, say this person may be able to do it cheaper for you. I don't know, but either way, you know, it's not working for us. We found them. They're in your local area. Try them out. So we've gotten rid of customers that way. And, you know, no one wants to get rid of customers, but at the same time, it's not worth the stress on your vehicle and all that to be driving all over the place. But being in one place, like you're saying all the time, it makes your business look like you have 50 employees because they see your trailer 3 times a day. When in reality, it's only because you're not leaving that area. It's not because you have a ton of trucks and a ton of trailers and employees. You just don't go anywhere. You're in the same spot. So if they drive by that spot, they're going to see you.
Yes. And obviously you're doing something right. If they're seeing you multiple places and multiple times, right? They're like, well, the guy's obviously being hired quite a bit. Must know what he's doing as well.
Exactly. And around here, I mean, I live in a small town, so everybody knows everybody, so to say. So, you know, word of mouth goes a long way. And like you're saying, you know, working for other people, they'll see me working for other people. And a lot of times they'll know who that person is or know whose property that is, you know, so it really does. Your work really does speak volumes, and that's the best. You know, you can talk to everybody. You can wear the nicest shirt. You can have the nicest truck, but if you don't perform, no one's going to hire you. So
absolutely.
It doesn't matter what equipment you have. Find a way to do the job and do it right, and you will grow.
Do it. Yes, that's one of my biggest things that I've learned as well is, you know, the trailer, the uniform, that image. You know, you can't just put out that image of being professional but not follow through with the work. I find, and sometimes it's not your fault, and it can be hard when you're starting a business because you want the work, you want the jobs, and you go to bid on something and you lay it out to the customer what it's going to take, and they don't necessarily want to do all the steps required. I find this all the time. I do a lot of lawn renos where you're having to power rake and aerate and reseed a whole lawn and top dress it and all that stuff. And it's quite the package. And at the end of bidding, the customer, I find a lot of times where the customer's like, well, I don't want to do that. How about we just do this, or we just do this part, or we'll just do that part. And I always turn them down. I say, you know what, then I'm not the guy for you. And I explain, because my trailer is going to be sitting there and it's very visible, and all your neighbors with the noise of the power rakes and aerators are going to be looking out their window, and they're going to be seeing that trailer. And they're going to be seeing me tearing up your lawn, power raking it and all that stuff. But the problem is, in 2 months, when your lawn basically looks like crap because we didn't do all the steps that I'm telling you are required to ensure that your lawn's going to be nice, they're going to remember that trailer and say, well, that guy didn't know what he was doing. And, you know, what a mess. I'm never hiring those guys again. So I always turn down customers because of that. And they totally understand. And some of them, obviously, for financial reasons, will say, okay, I totally understand, but, you know, I can't afford it. Well, you know, I'll have to find somebody else. But I've turned a lot of them into doing the full project because they understand then that, you know, my reputation means more to me than just making a quick buck and following through on that. So great point that you have there about that.
And like you're saying, you know, people, especially if it's a lawn rental, like you're talking about, or you're doing a landscape install, or even if it's just cutting the grass every week, if you don't do a good job, people are going to remember whose trailer was there and remember who made it look not good, you know, or who made it look crappy or whatever way you want to put it. But, people don't forget, and it's like you're saying, your reputation is way more valuable than a couple bucks. It's not gonna buy you a reputation. Your reputation is priceless. So focus on that and good things will happen.
Yeah. And actually the opposite as well. Even if the neighbors are at work and they don't see your trailer and you do a good job, they'll know about it because they'll go to that person's house, in a couple months when that lawn is the best one on the block and go, what are you doing to your lawn? And, I've had a customer tell me, every day in the evening, people are walking up and down the street and they're, they always stop when we're outside and ask us, what do we do to our lawn that makes it look so good? And we always respond with, we've got a special lawn guy. He takes care of it. And if you want his number, we're happy to give it to you. And so even if you're not visible, if you do a good job, it'll get around that you're the guy that does the quality work.
Yep.
And it speaks for itself.
You hit the nail on the head. That's exactly right.
So maybe you can share a time you've struggled in your business and maybe what you learned or did to overcome it.
I've struggled a lot, but one thing that really comes to mind, and now it kind of seems small, but back then it was a very large thing. I bought a truck. This would have been my first dump truck. It was a Chevy 3500. And we bought it and everything was going okay. Whenever I test drove it, it was fine. It wasn't a nice truck, but it was going to work for us. And we get it home and I take it up to my mechanic and I have him check it out. And they basically said that the motor was junk. And it was fine whenever I test drove it, like I said. And about a week after, it just started lagging and you could tell something wasn't right. And so they basically said the motor was junk and it was going to be about $5,000, somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 to replace the engine. And at that time, that was not feasible. It wouldn't have. It's not that it would have hurt it. I could not do it. So there I am stuck with a good portion of my money stuck in this truck, and it's no use to me. So I tried calling the guy back and getting him to be good on his word. He told me that the truck was fine. He told me, basically I didn't know anything about it and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, it's kind of rare chance that it would just, randomly happen to me. I don't know why it was okay whenever I test drove it. I don't know if he rigged something up or what happened, but it had low compression and everything else. And they said that he may, he could have put a thicker oil in it, or he could have done, multiple things to get it to perform okay for a little while.
Yes.
So that's what happened. And it really, really sucked. I was sitting there for weeks, basically not knowing what to do. And I posted it up for sale, with the known issue, and was trying to get the money, or close to the money that I had sunk in it back out of it. And obviously that was kind of a long shot. But I kept it up there, and I got in touch with a guy who basically owned a truck rehab kind of body shop mechanic place. All they did was buy old trucks that needed work, whether it be semis or down, all the way down to the 1 tons. And he would buy them and fix them and, paint them or do what he had to do, turn around and make a buck basically. And he ended up giving me about $500 less than what I paid for the truck. So it took time and whatever, but it was a lesson for sure. Don't go out and, I thought I checked the truck over and everything, and it was kind of unfortunate because I still to this day believe that something was not right. But that was definitely a struggle and definitely a letdown to me for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that would definitely be a huge bummer to discover that with your new truck and just sinking a whole bunch of hard-earned money into it.
But a good lesson was learned there too, and I guess everyone can kind of benefit from that. It was a horrible thing, but through perseverance, I didn't give up on it. I didn't just let it sit there and rot. I kept searching, and I found somebody who needed it or who wanted it, and it ended up working out. So most things do too. I mean, if obviously catastrophic things aren't going to work out in the end, but sometimes bad things can still work out okay.
Yeah, patience is a virtue.
That is correct.
Yeah. So what is your favorite thing about being self-employed?
My favorite thing about being self-employed is easily the freedom. Mm-hmm. And some people are going to take that as me taking off work and considering that freedom. I'm not talking about that kind of freedom. I'm talking if I need extra money, I can go find extra work or try to go find extra work, or, call a customer that has been talking about a project that we haven't sat down and discussed yet, or, I have freedom to, if I need more money, go get more money, or if I'm doing perfectly fine on money and there's a family event and, a landscape job comes up, I can turn that landscape job down because I don't, I'd rather spend time with my family. I don't need the money right now. That's more important to me. So it's freedom in the sense of being able to do what you want to do, whether work more or in certain situations work less. Now, for me, it's usually work more, but for the given situations, sometimes it's take a day off or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's by far in my eyes the best thing about being self-employed.
Yeah, I'm the same. The freedom is exactly what you're talking about. It's not like you say, not going and just taking off work for no reason. It's being able to if you need to. Yep. And just being in control of your destiny and knowing that, there's nobody, you're not relying on anybody else. You can do what you want when you need to. And it's just once you get a taste of it, it's like I could never imagine going back to work for somebody else. Yeah. And I understand when people say that they're, after working for themselves, that they're now unemployable by anybody else. It's there's just no way to go back once you've tasted that freedom and being in charge.
Yeah, the success is very addicting. Once you get it, like you said, I could never work for someone else. There's no way. I couldn't do it. And that's kind of scary because I'm only 24, thinking that, my destiny is literally in my hands. But, my personality and the way my mind works, in my eyes, that's a very, very positive thing. So I'm just, I take life one day at a time, but I'm going to keep going with this and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me see here. So one of the most common questions that I get in my business when I tell somebody I'm a landscaper, I meet them, they automatically say, "What do you do in the winter?" So obviously through your Instagram, I know that you are obviously working in a place that has winter. So what do you do in the winter? To keep busy and keep your business going, or do you take advantage of the break and relax and rest your body?
I do a little bit of both. I definitely take advantage of the break, and there's times where I can relax, but there's also other things that need to be done: maintaining equipment, cleaning equipment, storing equipment, things like that. Just the summer equipment needs to be taken care of, and that takes a little while. We also do leaf removal. We have a large dump trailer and a leaf vacuum, so that keeps us busy for 2 months or so. And that's growing every year, so that's getting to be a good thing. This year we did them past the first of the year, so and we're still getting a few calls actually. So leaf removal is definitely keeping us busy. And here in St. Louis we don't get too much snow, but it's enough to have plows and to be worth it to have plows. But, you can never count on snow here. So we don't count on it, but we are ready for it. And if it comes, it gets us out of the house, so to say. But for income, we rely on leaf removal really in the wintertime.
Okay. So how do you like that whole leaf vac system? I've never used one. Working by myself and with smaller yards here, it's just basically using the backpack blower and either blowing them into piles and then just raking them up onto tarps or into bags and stuff. Or for smaller jobs, using the little handheld blower vac and mulching them up, that sort of thing. But with the, did you do it manually before the leaf vac, before you went into that sort of investment?
Yeah, so we always did it basically like what you're saying. We, whatever way it worked, and we were doing smaller yards, and it was always feasible, not a problem. And we got a few larger yards that would ask to have their leaves removed, and some of them would be able to blow into the woods or, down into a creek or something where they can just dispose, or some of them we were trying to mulch up, and it got to the point where we had a few yards that there was just nothing we could do with it. I mean, even loading them up there's no way to pack them in there that tight, and it was going to, I was going to have to charge the customer $500 to remove their leaves, and not, that's what I would have had to charge them, not feeling good about it, but to make the margin I need to make, that's what it would have taken. So we got to thinking about it, and I said, if we had one of those vacuums, we could probably do this cheaper and, be able to use this vacuum on all these other kind of yards. So what we did, and we actually have done this for a lot of equipment, but I don't believe when you're trying something out that you should go buy something new. I think you should always try to find a decent used piece of equipment, use it, and whether you use it for a year to test it out or whether you use it for 2 weeks to test it out, if you buy used and you know what you're looking for when you go to buy used, you can find a decent piece of equipment, and if you don't like it, you can sell it and usually get close to your money back out of it and not be, it's like a new car. You buy a new piece of equipment, and as soon as you leave, you lost $1,000 on it or whatever.
Yes.
So a lot of people, and that's why a lot of people don't take those jumps, is because they don't want to lose the money and they don't want it to be not worth it. But so for us, we found it used, we found it right. And I said, talking to my brother, like I said, he's always been there. He wasn't working with me at the time, but he knew what was going on, and we found it for the right price. And I said, if I don't like it, I'll clean it up and I'll sell it for what I paid for it, So we bought it. We fabricated up a frame for our dump trailer, and that was 3 years ago, and we're still using the same loader. And like I said, we use it for a solid 2 months out of the year. So it's been, and I bought that's the used one. I never went and bought a new one. So it was definitely worth the investment. And it is, it's nice because it broadens the jobs you're able to do, because, people that don't have one, won't always take on those larger leaf jobs where, we're able to.
Yeah. That's awesome. Great. Another great piece of advice for the listeners out there is, try to look for what you need used first. Don't burden yourself down with a mountain of debt. It's not worth it. Especially if you're just trying something out, you don't even have, say, in a lot of cases, you see guys that don't even have the work lined up yet, and they're already, getting into debt for thousands of dollars for this, equipment. When I was looking into getting an aerator and the power rake for my business, was along sort of the similar sort of path. Here in Canada, everything is, at least 30% more than the prices there in the US. And, an aerator, a small, Bluebird aerator is in the $4,000 range here. And the power rakes are in the $2,700 range here new. So I went on a search for used ones and hit up a bunch of, tool equipment rental places and stuff. And I ended up getting my Bluebird aerator for $1,000 11 years ago, and I still use that thing every season, every spring and every fall. It's built like a tank. It was all not the prettiest when I bought it. It was obviously an ex-rental, but they're built like a tank. So it's been fantastic, and the power rake was the same. I paid $300 for it. But, knowing the commercial Honda motors and all that sort of stuff, it wasn't smoking. They weren't thing. It was starting up and running, had cosmetic issues, maybe needed a couple of little welds here and there. But, overall, they've been fantastic machines, and going into it thinking, I'll buy them and used and try them out and see how I like them. And, I had never at that point even done an aerating or a power rake. But 10, 11 years have passed, and I still have no need to buy brand new machines because they just keep going and going and going. They're so a great lesson to look for stuff used first, and save yourself that depreciation, and get into the business that way. So share your best piece of advice for those just starting out in the business. Somebody's sitting there and they're thinking about, wanting to start a landscape business. They're tired of working for somebody else. Get them over that hump.
My best piece of advice would be don't be intimidated. That's the biggest problem I see. That was my problem when I started out, but that is by far the biggest problem I see is people think, they're not going to hire me. I don't have the brand new truck. I'm only, a 1 or 2 man show, and they know who's, say you're wanting to go bid on a complex or something, and the company that's doing it, and they got 15 trucks and all this stuff going on, and you're intimidated to bid against them, or you're intimidated to talk to the president of the homeowners association, or, whoever's in charge of groundskeeping at the complex you're looking at, or whatever it may be. But you can't be intimidated. It's a job. They're looking for somebody. They're looking for somebody reliable. They're looking for somebody consistent. So if you're reliable, you're consistent, and you have the equipment to complete the job, you should not be intimidated. You're on the same playing field as everybody else. Just because they have 20 trucks and 40 employees doesn't mean that they're any better than you. They're not. A lot of those companies are actually worse than the 1 or 2 man guys because their quality is so poor. Yeah. So you can't be intimidated because you're just starting out, and, even if there's no way I'm going to get this account, which there are just some accounts where, say someone's been cutting it for 20 years or, whatever. If there's just some properties, you're not going to get the account, but it comes back to the point. They're not going to hire you the first time you walk in. They're not going to hire you the second time, maybe not the third, fourth, or fifth time, but maybe the sixth or seventh time. So if you're in your first year and there's this, large account that you would love to have, but you think there's no way you're going to get it, go poke your head in there, say hello, shake their hand, tell them who you are, tell them who, what business you own or whatever business you're starting, and see if they're interested. And, if it's that kind of place, they're going to say no, and you're going to walk out, and you're going to do the same thing next year and the year after that. And in 5 or 6 years, you may be the person that you think's never going to lose that account. So don't be intimidated by the size of the company or, whoever's doing it now. Don't let any of that bother you. If you can do the job right, go in there and give them your best and see what happens.
Yeah, great advice. There's something inside you that's getting you to this point. If you're thinking about starting a lawn care business, or a landscaping business, there's something inside you that's pushing you in that direction. So you got to trust in yourself and use the fact that you are working by yourself as an advantage. I would sell it all the time. I would tell customers that, you're not getting some, CEO coming around and bidding on the job and then sending some minimum wage employees that don't care to take care of your property. You're getting me, so I'm the one bidding. I'll be the one here every week doing the job. If you have any concerns, I'm the one here, like I said, every week. So sell it, use it to your advantage. Now, you talked about sort of overcoming the fear and all that. Now that brings me to a point, because even I am, suffer from that as well at times. And one of the biggest things, that I look at, even for myself, is getting into, say, snow removal and doing those commercial contracts with a plow and all that. And that seems to even me to be a sort of a visual or mental block to be able to get past that point, and to invest the money and go into that direction with the liability and, the potential liability, I should say. So how did you get was it just a natural progression for you to go into the snow removal part of it, or did you sort of weigh those sort of issues and stuff?
So the snow removal thing was actually kind of a funny deal the way it worked out, but once I started the lawn care, I had, customers that wanted me to do the whole kit and caboodle, and they said, if it snows, we want you to come and shovel the driveway in the winter. So I had driveways that I was doing, and there was actually, in the forecast, there was a 10-inch snow, which in St. Louis does not happen. It happens once every 10 years. So that was what was coming, and I had I have one big commercial account, and I've had them since day one. The customer was passed to me by another guy. But that's my big commercial account. So this was the main account that got me into the snow removal, but they called me and said, with this big snow coming, are you interested? And I was, kind of hesitant and kind of nervous about it, but I said, let me do some research and see what I can do. So I found a plow on Craigslist the same way I found the leaf loader, and it was under $1,000, and it was ready to, be bolted up to the truck that I had at the time. And I looked at, I asked them what they were being charged at the time and what they told me, and, to plow it and to spread salt on it, which we were going to do with the hand spreader, was going to take a while, but that was our plan of attack. And, they were paying out over $500. So I thought, at under $1,000 for this plow, one snow, I can make that much out of it. Worst comes to worst, I'll sell it, for $500, and I'll be back to square one, but I'll at least have tried it. And we were pretty much guaranteed at least, some plowable snow that coming week. So I jumped on it, went and picked it up, and me and my buddy started putting it on the night we picked it up, and it took us 6 days to get the entire plow done. And anybody listening to this that has done a plow is laughing right now, because that's a little ridiculous. I can do it in a couple of hours, but we had no idea what we were doing. We were young and dumb, so to say. But this was only a few years ago. But up until that point, up until my landscape side of things, I had always been, mechanically inclined, but I've never really, dove into anything. And so this was kind of, a new experience to us, and we were going off wiring diagrams, trying to match up the truck to the truck wiring to the plow harness wiring, and the plow harness was chopped up and everything else. We had to, hammer the mount on because it had a bent part on it, and drill holes and everything else. So it ended up being a pretty serious ordeal, but we got it done, and we ended up plowing that snow. And that snow, just by doing driveways in that one parking lot, I made like $1,500. So that, it was a gamble, and it paid off. But that's how we got into it, and that was kind of a tease, because to this day I haven't seen anything even close to that again. But that was a pretty cool experience, being able to, for the first time ever, to be able to plow. I think it was 9 inches of snow, so. It was pretty fun, pretty rare, but it definitely got me hooked, and now I'm just waiting for another 9 inches.
Just waiting for more. We don't get snow very often here as well here on the. I know, I say this all the time, that a lot of people think here in Canada that we're all living in igloos and that sort of stuff. Yeah. But on the West Coast, at least, it's very rare. We have wet, mild winters with the occasional snow. The last biggest snowstorm we had before this year was probably 2008. And then, we'll get a day or 2 days of snow, but it's followed by rain. So there's not really any need to plow it or clean it up or anything. It just washes away. But this year we had enough snow, and the rain did not come for over a month. So it stuck around. And I know some other landscapers, one particularly that does a lot of concrete and construction and sidewalks and stuff like that. And then, when there's snow, his whole crew, all his bobcats and dump trucks are turned into salt trucks and everything. And he goes and he says that he can do more income cleaning up snow than he does the whole year with the rest of the construction side of it. And it's just mind-boggling when you think about that a couple weeks of snow removal, and he's matching the rest of his income for the whole year in full construction projects. But he does just crazy stuff. Like, one of his main clients probably owns half of the city as far as commercial properties and leased to other businesses and stuff.
Yep, and that's the big key to it, is you got to get hooked up with somebody, because especially like me, like I said, I'm mostly residential in the summertime, and then in winter, whenever it snows, I'm all commercial. And people wonder how that works, because I don't mow a lot of these places, but it's through subcontractors. So if you're wanting to get in and you're nervous, where am I going to get the work? I don't have any work or anything like that. I wouldn't suggest going to buy a plow before you talk to any subcontractors, but specifically right now, that guy, you could go up to him and say, would you be interested in hiring a subcontractor?
Yeah.
And something like that. And that way, if, he says yes, and, gives you a set amount of hours or something per per storm or whatever, you would know right off the bat that you're going to be able to pay your plow off. So,
yes.
Anybody looking to get into it, I would suggest calling a large subcontractor in the area and see if they're interested or whatever. But it's definitely a gamble. And, for you where you're at, it sounds almost like it's not, it's not worth it. You guys don't, you guys get less snow than us. And around here, a lot of people don't do it because it's not worth it. So,
yeah.
It just all depends. But, if you get in with the right subcontractor, like you were saying, that guy can, make more in the winter than he can in the summer, barely getting any snow. It is possible.
Yeah.
And people do that around here too. There was a company around here last year that they're a large company, but they're not, crazy large. And St. Louis gets average of 15 inches of snow a year. And, some people up north are laughing because that's one storm for them. But this is, 4 storms and 15 inches. Really, we don't ever get that. So off of 15 inches, this average size company made over $2 million.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, and like you said, there is a lot of liability, but if you stay on top of it and you get enough salt down and, take the proper steps, you can pretty much eliminate a lot of that. So
yeah,
it is a gamble, but I mean, people do it, people do it for a reason. It does pay off, but it's all, some people don't like the salt on their trucks and that too, which is a big issue. So.
Yeah. It's funny, this year we had, because the snow hit and people are so expecting that it's just going to wash away, and then it didn't. There actually was a salt shortage. So that particular person I know was having to truck in, I think he trucked in 24 tons of salt from Idaho across the Canadian border to have salt here because there was no salt left. The cities didn't have salt. They were starting to put sand down because there was no salt anywhere. And, the snow wasn't melting. It was just getting compacted down and just turning into, I saw a news report of in the middle of a neighborhood on a street, the snow was packed so down so much and frozen. People were ice skating on it on their street playing hockey because it was just like so frozen, right? It was like 2 inches of solid ice on the street.
Yeah, that sounds
so yeah. So there's those things, and like I say, with it's that time in between of not knowing if it's worth it because of not having enough snow. I know a bunch of guys that do contract for this other person, so I know that that's available to me. But they had the same thing where after the last major snowstorm, they all went and put 8, 9, 10 grand into snow plows and had to wait 6 years until this year for it to actually snow. And now they say, okay, we finally paid it off this year. It's been sitting in the garage for 6 years.
Yep. Yeah. If you're in an
tough
area like where you're at, I would definitely suggest buying a used plow.
Yeah, and going that way, definitely. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm going to switch gears here a little bit and go to I met you or knew you through social media and Instagram in particular, and then that leading to seeing your YouTube and going from that. So I'm looking, and currently you've got 1,393 Instagram followers, which is pretty crazy to think about. And you have 737 YouTube subscribers. Now, you indicated earlier that you use these, and as well as Facebook, for different aspects. So you were saying the Instagram and your Facebook you use primarily for building your business, and then the YouTube you use more for sharing about the business.
I just started really social media. I've always posted on Facebook, like I was saying earlier, as like my marketing tool, so to say.
Okay.
So I've always used Facebook. I've been doing that since 2013, but I just got into Instagram and YouTube this October.
Wow. So 1,300 Instagram followers since October.
Yep. And same thing on
That's
YouTube.
crazy.
We started the Instagram, and we actually found, some other people, like Lawn Rookie, who you interviewed last. We found some people like him, and we said, hey, we can, we have things to offer to help these, some people, not necessarily him, but we saw, some people that, a lot of people sharing and trying to help each other.
Okay.
And we started to say, we could learn from people as well as help people and, not take too much time out of our day. So,
Yeah.
That's really why we started YouTube and Instagram, was to learn from the people above us and to teach the people below us and become part of the community, so to say.
Okay. So, and then for the Facebook you're using, is it the Facebook that you're using to build a business?
Facebook, I try to strictly build the business. I don't really try to help anyone. I will post tips here and there for homeowners. I don't do that too often, but Facebook, I try to gear straight at potential customers.
Okay. So do you have any tips for people wanting to build their business through social media?
Yes, I do. And it's the same. We've already discussed this, but it's results. People want to see results. You can show them your brand new mower. They don't care. They want to see the stripes. They want to see a before, you clean up a leaf job and after. They want to see before the shrubs were trimmed and after. They want to see before you put in the patio and after. They don't care what equipment you're using, which is, a lot of people on Instagram share their equipment because they want to say, this is the equipment I use to get this job done. And that's what the business owners are interested in, but that's not what the potential customers are interested in. They don't even know what the hell they're looking at,
Yeah.
So I wouldn't suggest posting any equipment really on Instagram unless it's maybe, a new company truck or something. You want to say, adding to the fleet, our new company truck, and that may get some eyes, and that may be, the sixth time someone has saw one of your trucks, and that's when they finally call you, or, that may be the first time, and then they see that truck all summer in their neighborhood and they finally call you or something like that. But, if you're going to gear, whatever social media it may be or whatever platform it may be, show them results. That's what they want to see. That's what's going to get them to pick up the phone or to send you a message or whatever is the finished product. So as much as you can, post your results.
Okay. Now, is there any tips that you would tell people to avoid on social media? Now, I say this because I've been seeing a trend, particularly on Instagram, of people using or having an Instagram account with their company name. And, it's all fine and dandy, and you see their pictures of their work and stuff. And then they throw in something that's completely not appropriate. And I always shake my head like, what are you doing? Don't do that.
Yep. I've seen the exact same thing, and it's, I'll follow somebody, and like I said, I'm new to it. So, I mean, it's everything's new to me. So I'll follow someone and you'd be going through their page, and it's like, oh, that's their setup's cool, truck and trailer, and oh, that was a cool landscape they did. Oh, wow, it's a good looking yard. And then the next thing you know is a bag of flaming hot Cheetos, or their girlfriend in a bikini or something.
Yeah.
Like, that's
or worse.
or worse. Or people, I've seen people, business pages posting about, getting drunk or, marijuana or something.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you doing, man? It's like,
what are you thinking?
What are you thinking? Yeah. But I mean, even down to the little stuff, like I said, posting, I posted a picture of my girlfriend. She was working. It was business related. I would say definitely keep everything. If it's going to be under your business name, keep it business related, because you never know. This happened to me this week. So my company is out of St. Louis, or the St. Louis metro area, and there is another Nickens. My company's named Nickens Lawn and Landscape, and there is a Nickens Lawn Care, same last name, but it's just Lawn Care out of Nashville, Tennessee. And so this Wednesday, I was doing some work on one of my trucks, and I had a phone call, and it was from a different area code. And a lot of time that's, people calling saying you're pre-approved for this loan or whatever. So I don't answer, if it's not, out of my working area, basically.
I do the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't answer it, and I get a voicemail, and usually, if it's a telemarketer or they're trying to give you something, they don't leave a message. So I got a message. So I listened to it right away, because I do every once in a while. We live by Air Force Base, so we do have military, and you will get different area codes here and there, but it doesn't happen very often. So I go to listen to the voicemail, and it's some lady not happy whatsoever, saying that she had a rock broke by one of my trucks going down the interstate. And I'm thinking, okay, for one, I haven't hauled any rock today, and for two, I don't ever drive down the interstate. So I'm sitting here thinking, this lady's got the wrong number, obviously, or something's going on. So I call her up and I say, she left her name. So I said, hello, so-and-so. This is Alex with Nickens Lawn and Landscape. I received a voicemail from you, saying that my truck broke your windshield on your car going down Interstate 40. I said, ma'am, I don't even know where Interstate 40 is. My company's based out of St. Louis, Missouri. Where did this happen? And she said it happened in Nashville, Tennessee. It was a red dump truck. And I said, okay, well, that's not me. I don't own a red dump truck. And like I said, I'm based out of St. Louis. And she said, well, it said Nickens on the side of the truck. And I got to thinking, because I came across actually another guy on Instagram had showed me a picture of this other company, but I had seen them as well. And so I said, oh, I know what it is. I said, it's Nickens Lawn Care out of Nashville, Tennessee. And I said, you can look them up and give them a call. And she said, oh, well, I typed your name in on Google, and, I typed Nickens Lawn on Google, and your name popped up all over the place. There was no other name. And that really got me thinking, because I don't have a website, which is kind of bad. I know I should, but I don't. I just haven't gotten to that point yet. And she types in my name on Google, and it just pops up everywhere. And I did it as well. And it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all my videos. It's all that kind of stuff that popped up. So, you never know who's going to be able to get to your page. If you're posting all these crazy pictures, a potential customer can see that. So you want to be very, very, you got to think what you're posting. It's not just your friends that are going to see it. Somebody can type in your name, and next thing you know, they're on your Instagram or your YouTube. So be careful what you put out there, and definitely think it through.
Yeah, that reminds me, I had a similar thing happen with me, but I actually had somebody impersonating my company. And they were one of those. It kind of goes back to the aerating guys that go around the neighborhoods aerating. So I found a copycat guy doing the same thing, but he was on his own. He had just rented an aerator, and he was going door to door. But what happened was my kids were doing a bottle drive to raise funds for their sports teams. And they were going to go door to door and drop off flyers for their sports teams. And I said, well, since you guys are going door to door, throw some of my flyers there too, because you're going to the houses anyways. So they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. So they went, and this was in February. So I'm still not in work mode yet. I usually start mid-March after the winter. So, but these aerator guys, they keep getting started earlier and earlier and earlier each year, trying to outdo each other and get to the neighborhood first. So anyways, this guy apparently was on the same street and saw my kids and wife dropping off flyers, and I guess he went to knock on one of the doors and saw my flyer on the ground. So he picked it up and told the person that he was me. And that that was his little brother and sister dropping off flyers ahead of him while he's going. So the reason, or the whole way I found out about this was about an hour later, I get a phone call, and I'm outside, and this lady's complaining, saying, you didn't show up. You didn't show up. And I'm like, excuse me, didn't show up for what? And she's like, you said you were going to aerate my lawn or aerate my friend's lawn. You came to the door. I told you where she lived. I paid you in advance, and you didn't show up. And I was like, whoa. I'm not even working yet. It's February. We don't start until, well, I said, I think you've got the wrong. No, it was you. You came to the door. You gave me your flyer. She says, my husband was kind of looking at me going, what, you're just going to hire this guy off the thing. So when I told the guy I was going to go get my purse, I ran into the other room and Googled your company and saw your Facebook, and your website came up, and it all looked legit and it matched the flyer. So my friend was on the phone that I was on the phone with, said, send him to my house, but she didn't have any money, so I prepaid for her, and then you didn't show up. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And as this lady's talking, I hear an aerator coming up the street, and I was actually in the backyard, and I look over the fence, and I see this guy, and he doesn't look like the other guys that normally come around. He's got no uniform or anything. He's wearing a black bomber type jacket with a big Nike swoosh on the back. And I said, what'd the guy look like? She goes, oh, he was a young guy. He was wearing a black jacket, Nike jacket. And I said, son of a said, he's in my side of the neighbor, or, in my part of the neighborhood now. He's actually across the street from me. Let me go have a talk with him. And long story short, I confronted the guy, and he denied that he did it. I actually had to call the customer back and have her on speakerphone, and he started to backpedal and all that. And I basically told him, sort of used some reverse psychology on the guy, and was like, after I got off the phone with the customer, I said, you know what, it's probably a misunderstanding. I believe you. You're a good guy, right? And he goes, yeah, I'm a good guy. I said, you wouldn't go and impersonate my company falsely and do all that. He's like, no, I would never do that. I said, so you'd have no problem giving me your driver's license right now? And he's like, you guess not. And I said, so he pulls out his driver's license, right? So I take a photo of it, and I said, okay, now I know who you are and where you live. You better go do that lady's property, and I never want to hear that you're going around again, or else there's going to be trouble. And never heard from him again. And I told the client, if he doesn't show up or anything, give me a call, and we'll figure something out, and all that, right? But I said, I've got his driver's license number and stuff, so I know who he is now. I'm sure he'll show up. You don't have to worry about it. But that kind of brought up thing. The customers are gonna search for your name or a name similar, and if it's popping up and stuff, if somebody's similar or using that, right, you want to be able to sort of differentiate yourself. And a tip, if you're not going to have a website yourself, to at least get the domain names and just have them parked, so that somebody doesn't come along and take them or use them for you. So you are on YouTube and you use it for sharing. So what motivates you to do that? I've been watching a bunch of your videos, and it's totally entertaining watching sort of that point of view. Like was it the buying the snowplow for the second truck?
Yeah.
And going back and forth, and the guy didn't want to sell the plow at first, and then but money talks, and going back there and all that, and so what motivates you to show that side? And then your truck talks, I really like those too, because you really get into that sort of motivation to help guys out starting out, and sharing some of your experiences.
Yeah, definitely. So my YouTube story, it really started a long time ago. I've been watching guys on YouTube for a long time. The main guy that I've always watched is Stanley Genetic. I've been watching him since I started my business. And he was really, kind of one of the inspirations to me, and that's what he does, is share. He tries to help people who aren't to his level yet get to his level and get there without the struggles that he had to go through, and not necessarily struggles, but the hoops, and, you just got to figure things out, and that takes time. So if you can help someone figure something out faster, you're going to, potentially speed their business up and help them be successful sooner. So, I had benefited from that by watching others' videos, and what really pushed me to do it was a lack of some of the information that I was searching. There was some information that I wanted. A lot of it was on the repair side, which I haven't done any of yet, but I will definitely be doing some of that. But just knowing how to do things, because that can save you, not only time, but it can save you money, especially on the repair end. If you can watch someone do something on YouTube, and they explain it and they do it correctly, you can potentially save yourself thousands of dollars, or, get yourself thousands of dollars ahead. So, and we've learned a lot in the past, couple or 3 or 4 years since we've been doing this. And it's, I thought it was kind of time that we share and maybe try to help some people. And so far it's, the results we've gotten are bigger than any results that we would have thought, this fast. But
yeah. That's awesome. So for YouTube, you mentioned Stanley Genetic. Obviously, I think everybody knows about him. Any others that stand out that you would suggest for people starting out to follow?
I watch Top Notch a lot. He's got he's similar to Stanley Genetic, and I talked to Brian at the GIE Expo for a few hours, and I know he looks up to Stanley Genetic as well as kind of one of his role models, so to say. So I like Brian's videos. He's kind of going on the same path I'm going on, and even though Brian's doesn't have the experience that Stanley Genetic or some of the other guys do, Brian is he's definitely trying to learn fast and be efficient, and he's not scared to share his mistakes, which is what I really like about him. Some of the stuff is just so fake, and they never put in the mistakes, and they make the lawn care industry look like something that it's not.
Yeah.
If you're going for 3 or 4 weeks and you don't have one issue, you better get on your knees and pray, because it's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
There's always something, and it's not always major, but there is always something. Every single day your schedule will be changed for some reason or another. And that's why I like what these guys show. Sometimes I feel like, Stanley Genetics shows more mistakes than he does good stuff. But you need to know that side of it. You need to know the real side of it, what's really going on and behind the scenes. And that's kind of where we got our idea for that truck video. We knew we were going to buy it, and we knew, we kind of knew what he was asking, but we knew he was flexible. So we said, this may be kind of fun. And we didn't know, if the truck was nice, we were going to pay him what he was asking and walk out the door, but it did need some stuff. And we wanted to get that addressed and make sure we were in the truck right. So we wanted to get all that on video, and it turned out pretty well. I wish we could have had a little bit more. There was some more conversation that I really wanted to capture, but it just didn't work out. So, but
no, it was a great video though.
Yeah, like I said, I just want to show behind the scenes and what's really going on, not the fluff that a lot of people try to, produce. It's, and not all of it's bad. I mean, a lot of it is real, and I'm not saying that they're not out there mowing yards. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying they show all of the good stuff and none of the bad stuff, and you gotta show the whole picture.
Yeah. So did I see on one of your videos some drone footage?
Yes, we recently got a drone.
So you got the drone bug. How has that been?
Yeah, my little brother actually, Nick's the one that bought it. He wanted to buy it. He was trying to talk me into buying it and use it as a business expense, but I didn't. Yep. I didn't want to spend that money on a drone. I said no. If we're buying something for that much money, we're going to buy something that's going to make us money. So. The drone is just kind of a toy, more or less, and we haven't got to use it too much, but it's been fun so far. It's definitely fun to fly around, but we haven't, once we get into some mowing and some, larger property cleanups, we'll be able to definitely take advantage of that and get some shots that you aren't able to capture otherwise. And that's kind of our main goal, because there's always more than one thing going on. And in one screen, you can only fit so much. And that's why the drone's going to be cool, because, you'll be able to get up and show, Nick over here doing this and me over here doing this. It's not, there's multiple things going on. So, yeah.
I think Blake from B&B has shown that it can be a pretty crazy marketing tool. Some of the stuff he's put together, those drone videos look like, $20,000 professionally shot commercials, which just, help to promote his business. So it's very neat. I think we're going to see it more and more commonplace with landscaping. You'll have your guy mowing the lawn with drones flying around. It'll be more and more of a normal thing for homeowners to start seeing.
Yeah, I think they will start seeing it. I think we're still kind of nervous to just take it out there and, do it. I think you definitely need to ask the homeowner, but a lot of homeowners, the main video that we used our drone on, we told the lady, or we asked the lady if we could, and we told her our plan, and she said, yeah, definitely, I want to see it when you're done.
Yeah,
so
cool.
She was excited about it. She definitely wasn't hesitant or anything like that. She said, that sounds awesome. We said, all we're doing is showing our work. We're not going to show any up close of the house or anything like that. It's all going to be from up top and, quick shots down low. And she was perfectly fine with it, but I think you should ask, because I could see that going the wrong way, and maybe even losing a customer over it if they got, kind of nervous about what you were doing or whatever.
Yes.
But I think, like you're saying, I think it is going to become much more common to see them around.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to follow you or find you on social media, how can they do that?
You can find me on Snapchat, Facebook, and YouTube, all at Nickens Lawn and Landscape, and that's the and symbol, not A-N-D. And then you can find me on Instagram at Nickens Lawn Landscape. There's no and there and no spaces.
Okay, perfect. So I think that covers all the questions I had for you this week. I want to thank you again for taking the time out to come onto the podcast. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience and building your business, especially from sort of a young, being 24 years old, a young startup, and being is this your 5th season? You said
yes,
going into it
will be my 5th year.
Yeah, so it's great having that perspective. I think it, with us old guys going along and sort of talking about the same stuff, we can forget a lot of the early struggles early on. So it's great having that fresh perspective. So I thank you very much for coming on to the Lawn Care Business Success Podcast and sharing your story.
No problem at all, Julio. I appreciate you having me.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it, Lawn Care Nation. I hope you enjoyed this interview with Alex Nickens from Nickens Lawn and Landscape. And if you enjoyed the podcast episode, if you could please take some time to leave a review on iTunes. You can do that at lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/reviews. And just go there, and there's a link in that page there where it takes you to iTunes where you can leave a review. It really helps the podcast out. Also, I'll leave a couple of links in the show notes to Nickens Lawn and Landscape's Instagram page, as well as their YouTube channel. If you're listening to this podcast on the iTunes or iPhone's built-in podcast player, you can just click on the Lawn Care Business Success logo while it's playing, and it'll flip around with the show note links behind there. You can click on those to go directly to that. So subscribe to Nickens Lawn and Landscape on YouTube, and follow Alex there on Nickens Lawn and Landscape on Instagram. And check out his Snapchat and YouTube as well. I think it's all Nickens Lawn and Landscape. So if you guys would like the opportunity to come on to the podcast and share your story as well, I think you'll find that you'll really enjoy it. And it's a great way to share your story. You can contact me. Just head on over to lawncarebusinesssuccess.com/contact. Just go to that page there, enter in your details, or you can message me directly through Instagram, and we can get in contact that way as well. So I think that's it for this week. Here's to wishing you guys all overwhelming success and freedom in your lawn care business. Bye for now.